What is up, Breakthrough Success listeners? Mark Burry, the podcasting coach here. And if you have a business, you're definitely looking to grow it. You're looking to get more customers. You're looking to maximize the value of your business, because some people definitely think of it as an exiting standpoint. Like if you do have a real estate investment or if you have a website you want to sell, you think exit. But in any event, whether you want to exit or not, you're definitely thinking growth. So that's why we're going to focus on how do we grow a business and how can we maximize our business's value. So our guest who joins us today, he is a managing partner over at Midcourse Advisors. That's the place where he and his team help companies grow profitable and fast. He is an expert at selling and serving in the real estate industry and is a sought-after business partner and speaker. Our guest who joins us for this episode of Breakthrough Success is none other than Andy Goldstrom. Andy, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be on the show. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Andy, it is such a pleasure to have you on Breakthrough Success. And growing a business is definitely something anyone wants to do who has a business, but you definitely want to make sure you're growing without, the cost of profitability, because if you grow and you're at net loss, then you're just going to build the losses. So what are some of the things we could do to make our businesses profitable so we don't have to even worry about growth? Like growth could sometimes be bad if it's not profitable. So how do you focus on profit?
Sure. Well, I work with startups as well as established businesses, and regardless, resources are finite. You only have so many dollars in a budget or so many dollars available to you and so much time. So you really want to focus on your target, and a lot of people struggle doing that, and sometimes it derails their progress. Sometimes it even puts them out of business, and that's not a good thing, obviously. Most businesses are not successful, and certainly if they want to grow and achieve their goals, they need to be more focused. And a lot of what I've been successful either with my own companies, two of which became Inc. 500 companies, and working with others are a few kind of key things. One is making sure you're solving a problem that has demand and a pain point, instead of, there are a lot of people out there who have great ideas, but they're not, and they're unique ideas, but they might not be an idea that solves somebody's problem that somebody values and would be willing to pay for. And being able to validate that up front is really important. Second thing is, having some innovative lead users or customers up front, people who have validated the problem, who are willing to be your testers, or people who can, will actually give you feedback and start using your product early on because of their need. If you hire great people, you'll go a long way, especially with cultural fit and making sure that you have the right team in place at the right time as you build your business. If you manage your finances daily, like really every penny, every dime, your chances of succeeding are much higher, especially because a P&L is very different from having cash in the bank. Two last things are just, if you can streamline your processes early so that you're doing duplicate tasks in a consistent way, can focus more on your customers. And the last thing that I try and advocate is leveraging successes. So if early on you have some first downs and successes with customers, and they feel confident and they can refer you, or you can use them to market and promote what you do, your products or services, you're well ahead of the game. And there's no one panacea, but if you do a number of those things well, and stay on track with those, your opportunity to be profitable very early is really important. And with the companies that I have been involved with, we turn to profit within the first 6 months.
And Andy mentions a lot of really great things right off the bat. I mean, tracking your finances every day, that's something I do. And if you do that, your numbers are going to grow. Or if you see your numbers declining, you can see why and then make appropriate changes. What you track grows. Definitely remember that. And then Andy said something right away, where we have finite resources, finite time, money, everything. So we just have to be a lot more intentional with what we're doing. No like duplicate tasks or anything like that, or duplicate roles, which is what Andy was mentioning as well. So, I mean, just some really solid stuff right away about, having that profitability in play. And part of growing, I mean, you don't always have to grow by spending money, but it certainly helps, like, if you spend money on advertising or something like that. So when we are thinking about money and how we invest it into a business, what are some of the things that you're looking for to determine, is this a path you should go? Is this a path you should continue, like cut out, or like, how do you determine those types of decisions when you're investing into a business?
Well, I think what you want to do is determine, it's all about risk and reward. So you want to determine what has the greatest impact with the least amount of effort or expenditure. And the only way to do that is to get out there. So you have to be able to talk to customers, invest in the right things, and be able to pick and choose exactly what will work to meet your long-term goals as a company and build. One of the things I work on with companies is something called modularity. And that means that you can build different products or services based upon the same chassis. So a couple of examples are, when a car company like Ford makes a car, they build several different models, but it has the same base chassis, so they're not recreating the wheel every time. Apple doesn't make different phones starting from scratch every time. A service provider can add a different service line that leverages existing infrastructure or thought process without having to do that every time. And you can definitely become more profitable more easily by going in that direction. You did make a comment just a minute ago about growing and spending money. Growing takes money. There's no doubt about it. There's additional work in process, additional inventory, additional resources that are required. So you have to really be thoughtful about doing that, because you can manage the risk and grow, but there are different ways to grow and be able to have a better payback or return and manage the risk better depending upon which direction you go in.
And I love how Andy breaks down risk and reward, because those are the things you have to be looking at. You don't want to be doing something high risk, low reward. You want to be doing, if you could find it, low risk, high reward. I mean, those opportunities don't always present themselves, but when you do see it, it is something you want to go on and leveraging your successes. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, like, it's really tempting to, especially if you're like into content, you just pursue new projects, you pursue new social networks just for the sake of pursuing them, just for the sake of seeing what they're all about, but they may not fully connect with your business and what you're doing. So I'm wondering, with that in mind, how do we avoid getting distracted and like create a whole bunch of new projects and new things that, may feel fun to create and do, but don't really help the business or don't really have a lot of long-term viability?
Well, one of the ways is to have a real strategic plan and framework and tools and methodologies that will help you do that. That's something that, I do for my clients and help them so that they can focus on the right things that are properly tested and segmented. And basically what people do is, what companies often do is they move with the market, or they move with what they think may work for them, and they pivot, but their pivoting isn't based upon research and fact and certainty and diligence. It's done based upon changes in gut instinct, or changes in what they think is going to happen, and that's not always really a good formula. So when I work with companies, there's more diligence involved, so that there's more certainty in the moves that they're making, and the number of moves that they're making are not. You can't do 10 different things at once. You have to focus on the things that you can do well, and the things that you have a chance to win or to succeed in. And not everything's going to be in the upper right-hand quadrant. Not everything that you work on is going to be the highest impact, highest return, lowest risk. Some of them some of them may not be maybe a high impact, but a medium risk. And what you can do is at least identify what are the things that we can do to mitigate some of those risk factors to make it a lower risk to achieve those higher impact items. And by looking at that in advance and anticipating those kinds of things, you can optimize your outcomes.
And one of the things I do want to explore more is Andy says, he's got clients who he's helping, like with profitability. And when you do have you're not thinking gut, like it's good to have like confidence in yourself, but you don't want to rely on your gut feeling. It's one thing to write a book on what you think is a big thing versus doing keyword research to figure out, is this actually a big thing? And I do want to ask you, Andy, because I know you've had a few clients. I'm wondering if you could share with us, like, what are some of like those, like the first things you want to learn about a client's business before you work with them, or once you're getting started? Like, what are some of those first things you learn, or some of the first questions you ask that person?
Yeah, I have a checklist of things. And what I tend to do is go through all different aspects of their business, from finance to operations to sales to the team itself, and just try and really understand what their situation is, what's unique about their circumstance, what's their unique value proposition, how are they solving their current a customer's problem, what are their channels, what does their financial position look like, what are their goals, and what I find is a lot of clients look at trying to fix something in the short term because they have a pain point, but they're not looking at kind of a longer term picture. And for some business owners, they want to exit in a certain amount of time or grow a business to a certain point over a period of time. And they need to think both short term and long term to be able to make that happen. Things like, when do we want to achieve our goals or have an exit in our business? How much money do we want to pull out of the business at the time? What does our team need to look like in order to be able to deliver the service and have it be sustainable? What kind of resources and infrastructure do we need in order to make that happen? What kind of processes or tools do we need in place? And how durable is our business given our mix of customers and number of customers and what our pipeline looks like? And if you think of all those things and then work your way backwards, you don't have to just focus on your short-term pain. And it makes a much more sustainable and valuable business. And when I've worked with companies taking that kind of lens, the multiples of their business within 6 months to a year really go skyrocket.
We've got more great content coming up in this episode, but first we have a message from our sponsor who helps people to get more clients. And if you're wondering how to get more clients, it all comes down to having the ultimate marketing strategy. My friend Jacob has a free guide that will help you create your marketing roadmap and attract more clients to your business. You can head over to jacob-le.com to get your free ultimate small business marketing guide today. We will have a link to that in the show notes for everyone who wants to check it out. Anyways, let's go right back into the episode. And Andy brought up a whole list of different things. Like, that's why you have something like a checklist if you do have clients or something of that nature. But a few of them that really came at me, like unique value proposition, goals, financials, pipeline. I mean, some of those are going to strike you more than others, but you do want to, even if you go back to that clip where Andy's explaining these different things, it's like, think about that for your business. Like, don't let these like goals and finances and pipeline, like, we know what they are. We know it's good to have goals. We know the importance of finances and what a pipeline is, all that stuff. But it's more important for you to think about, like, put yourself in like, oh, what are my goals? What are my finances? What does my pipeline look like? And really being reflective gives you clarity on what it is you have to do to take your business to the next level.
Yeah, I think you need to look at your business from a lot of different perspectives. One is, if I'm a leader, where do I want to go ultimately with the business? or with my department or my division. But then you have to look at how that impacts things from an investor standpoint, and also how you look at it from a customer standpoint. So if you have, investors care about business durability. If a leader leaves, they want to make sure that there's a team in place to continue the business, to continue to grow. If a customer is expecting more and their needs are changing, they want to make sure that the business is prepared to evolve as those business needs are changing. And one of the things that I do to help companies grow that's kind of cool and interesting is to try and keep them ahead of the curve. You asked earlier about what growth opportunities companies should pursue and how they keep focused. And there are three mega trends that are really important that bring opportunities to companies. And what it does is there's demand for it, which is solving a problem. And then it creates jobs. And therefore it creates demand for services and products. And the three things one is demographics. There are two areas within our demographic profile in this country that are a trend that create opportunities. One is the fact that the millennials are like a rat coming through the snake in terms of the numbers of people and how many people in that age group are entering the workforce and what their needs are. They tend to 40% of the workforce will be millennials by 2025, and so that means that these folks tend to want to have flexible work environments. They want to live in the city. They demand different things for their health and wellness, and so those investing or trying to grow in those areas to serve that demographic group is a key area and opportunity. Same thing with people who are older. There's the largest group of people who are 65 and older who are living longer is immense. And so that means that more people are needing knee replacements, more people are needing financial planning, more people are needing senior living housing and assisted living. And so one of the clients I'm working with wanted to expand its real estate footprint and its investments. And they said, where should we spend our time and effort? And I did some diligence, and I'm familiar with real estate markets and other businesses. And literally they pursued a senior living facility opportunity and have invested and constructed a few of them and done quite well. Second trend, first one was demographics. Second one is technology. The cost of technology has plummeted. If you wanted to put a new software product out 15 years ago that was robust, between the technology and the resources, it probably would have cost you $1 million. Now you could do it for less than 1/10 of that, which means that there's a lot more technology out there, and there's also a lot more people who aren't as strong in technology who can put a shingle out because it doesn't cost as much. So the ability to use technology and harness technology and also work with people in technology is great. And then the last thing is regulation. With all the technology coming forth and with all the changes in banking, with the changes in what you see online, with cybercrime, there's a lot more opportunity in the environment of regulation and safety that's going to create jobs and opportunities. And so you'll see a lot of the jobs and the demand and the ability to provide services and products in those three areas: demographics, technology, and regulation.
And I love that breakdown of the mega trends. And whether you are looking for a job or you're just thinking of, who should I be reaching with my business? What are the opportunities out there? It's important to pay attention to those things and how society is moving, because the way society is moving is how your customers are moving. It's how potential clients are moving, and to be able to move with the trends and really be able to see what's happening. Some of the potential future outcomes can really set you up for making better business decisions and reaching out to the people who you should be reaching out to. So it's just really interesting to think about these different trends, all with the context of growing your business and your profitability. And I mean, I feel like this episode has been really rock solid and filled with so many insights you can use to grow your business. The key is really thinking about the stuff Andy said and asking yourself questions, looking at your business and all of those important things like financials, pipeline, goals, and all those other things we were talking about earlier. And if you did enjoy this episode, I think you should definitely follow Andy and the work he's doing. So I know Andy's over at Midcourse Advisors, so we'll have a link there. But is there any other place that you want us to go to keep following your work and what you do?
Yeah, it's midcourseadvisors.com. I can also be reached at my email, agoldstrom at midcourseadvisors.com. And one thing I didn't get a chance to mention, but I also teach entrepreneurship at a major university in Atlanta called Georgia State. And it gives me the opportunity to give back and also stay close to the pulse of an emerging workforce. So I'm always trying to stay on top of what's new, what can be applied, how companies can get an edge, what differentiates them. And so would love the opportunity to talk to anybody who's interested, who thinks I can be of assistance. And there's no, if you contact me, there's no obligation. And I have some, certainly if I can help in any way, I'd love to help, and I can provide some tools and advice regardless of whether you decide to engage or not.
Well, we'll definitely have all those links in the show notes. I mean, you're doing a lot of work with Midcourse Advisors. You are teaching students. So you're definitely doing a lot of things, definitely providing a lot of value. So again, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you check out all this stuff. But once again, Andy, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was such a pleasure to have you on Breakthrough Success.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it.